Hi everyone, my name is Jay, and today I just have a message for you guys, and we're just gonna go straight into it. So the theme is Don't Be a Jonah. Now, for those who read the Bible, I know that you know the story, but just for the sake for those that don't read the Bible, I'm just gonna go and read the full chapter of Jonah. Now, Jonah chapter 1, it says, this is the New International Version. The word of the Lord came to Jonah the son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord, and he headed for Tarshish, where he went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind to the sea, and such violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw cargoes into the sea to lighten up the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell asleep and fell into deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us, so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots and find out who is responsible for this calamity." Then they cast lots, and the lots fell into Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" He answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." For this terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher. So they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea come down for us?" He said, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea." He replied, "And it will be calm. I know it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Instead, the men did their best to row back to the land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, "Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this, the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. So that was the passage of Jonah. That's Jonah chapter 1. So just to summarize quickly, God sent his prophet to Nineveh because the sins was getting to the stage that he could no longer support. Jonah decided to run away. Upon running away, he boarded a boat. The boat could not advance because of the great rage of the sea that the Lord provoked. So they ended up throwing him overseas, and he ended up in the belly of the fish. Now, what we're going to do now, we're going to try to understand the plan of the Lord. From the passage, we can see the plan or order of God was the Lord instructed him to give the word of God to the people of Nineveh. It was simple. All he had to do was give the message to the people of Nineveh. But yet he decided to do what he wanted to do. So this is what Jonah wanted to do. Jonah decided to follow his own plan. He judged the people of Nineveh, and yet God had to save them. So these 3 points is going to be the main points that we're going to talk about. So number 1, when I said Jonah followed his own plan, we follow our own plan, but we want God to be okay with it. So us children of God, we want to follow our own plan, but yet we want God to be okay with it. What Jonah did was complete disobedience, whether you want to put it left or right. The Lord instructed you to do something, yet he decided to do something else. But how many times we do that in our life? The Lord tells you to do something, but you do something else, and yet you want God to be okay with it. But then you ask yourself that question: who is God? You or actual God? Because by you doing what you want, it's like you're telling God, "No, I'm doing this way. I want you to be okay with it." But is it not better just to listen to his instruction, as it was simple? Because if we go back to the plan of the Lord. The Lord instructed him to give the word to the people of Nineveh. It was simple, but yet he just wanted to make it difficult. Now we're going to go straight to number 2. We judge non-believers. That is the reason we do not preach to them. Us children of God, Sometimes we need to read the Bible, you know. It says, you shall not, do not judge, for you shall not be judged. But it's a lot of time in our life we judge a lot of non-believers. And that is the reason why we don't preach to them. We look at their lifestyles, we say, oh, look what they're doing. This person, there's no hope for them. They're going to go to hell. Oh, look at this. It's as if we are better than them. Because we know the truth, because we accept the Lord, doesn't make us better than them. It makes us a vessel in a way that we are supposed to go to them to make them understand, to make them realize that's not the lifestyle that the Lord wants. But yet what we do, we judge them. And yet we don't preach them. You know, we want to be able to sit among our Christian friends and say, oh, look at that person. Oh, he did this, he did this. Oh, look at that person. He's living this life like this. Oh, you know, so much thing, yet we're judging and gossiping, all those things that the Lord detests. So how are we different from them? Because what you're doing is what the Lord detests, and yet you're not doing what the Lord is telling you to do, which is to go out there and preach. Because what? We've judged them and we feel like it's okay. As long as you're okay, as long as your life is okay, you're well with God, all is good. But what about what the Lord is telling you to do? Because if your life is good, but yet you're not doing the work of God, which is to go out and preach your nation, how can you say that you're okay with God? So that is the reason why we do not preach to them, because we judge them. We feel like we are better than them. But it's not about being better than someone. It's about getting someone to Christ, to save them. You need to be able to be humble. You need to be able to follow what the Lord is telling you to do. So we need to stop this judging non-believers, but get the word out to them. Number 3. 2.1, before we even go to number 3. We love correcting other Christians. So this is another problem that we have with Christians. We love correcting other Christians. You see a child of God not doing something that is right in the eyes of the Lord, you love correcting them. Oh no, what you're doing is wrong. You're like this. You put so much correction to make yourself feel good. It is good to correct someone when they're doing wrong, but it is not to become a habit that you just want to correct people as if your life is holy. You see someone doing wrong, good, correct them. But do not take pride feeling like, oh, I've corrected this person, I've corrected this person, as if you are holy, as you are holy yourself. Everybody, one way or another, will sin, which is not good. But we can live holy if we really want. But if we are judging our own brothers and sisters, what hope do we have for you to go out there and preach the gospel? If you can't even just love your brother and sister, if they do wrong, show them the right way. Show them with kindness and love, so that they give them the opportunity to say to themselves, you know what, yeah, you're right, I want you to change. But if you just want to be like, oh, that one, no, forget it. Yeah, she may sing in the church, but she's over there in the club and etc. This and that. You know, why? What is the point? What do you gain? All you're doing is hurting the person, and what you're actually doing is trying to push the person away from God. Because if the person feels too much judged, they feel like there is no God. What is the point? Instead of tell the person, listen, you're a child of God. The lifestyle that you live is not something that the Lord is pleased with. Make sure you change. If you really can't really change and it's something that you're fighting with, I'm here to help you. I'll pray with you and I'll guide you the best that I possibly can. That's an example of how a child of the Lord is supposed to be. But right now is a lot of judging, from pagans to even Christians. And we need to stop doing these things, because that is not what the Lord instructed. The Lord is simple. Go out, preach the word. Told Jonas, go to Nineveh, preach against it. It was simple. It's like the Lord makes it simple and we make it difficult, we make it complicated, and we think that God is complicated, but it's ourselves that make it complicated when there is no need to be complicated. Number 3, God's plan does not change. Our disobedience just delays it. So, for you to barely understand this more, you need to read the full chapter of Jonas, as in he was there in the belly of the fish for 3 days. What happened is he repented, he prayed, and the Lord basically allowed the fish. A lot of people say his will and etc., but we don't really know exactly. Some people even say that the mammal that basically swallowed up Jonas does no longer exist, or it could have been just a creature that the Lord created upon that day. We're not entirely sure, but we're just going to go with the national value, the belly of the fish. So the Lord basically allowed the fish to throw him back out, and he ended up in Nineveh. And what he did, he went out there and he preached the gospel. He preached and etc., and he preached against it as the Lord commanded, and the entire nation of Nineveh, they basically repented and fasted. Even the king told them that they need to fast so that the Lord have mercy upon them. So that's exactly what happened. So we can see that the plan of God did not change. All Jonas did was delayed. He disobeyed it, but he never prevented the plan of God from going forward. And that's exactly that we need to understand in our life. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you've went wrong, don't think that, oh, because I've done this wrong, the Lord's plan has changed for me. He will not accomplish all the things that he said. Wrong. He will accomplish it. Yet it may take longer than before because of your own disobedience, but the Lord never changes. If he says that he will bless you, he will bless you. And there is nothing that will ever change the plan of God. God is simple. He has a plan for you and it will remain the same plan. But what we do, our decision making, how we act towards how we act towards God is what delays and sometimes, changes our future, or I could say the plans for the future. The Lord maybe decided, okay, today is June the 10th. So June the 11th, he decided to bless me. And then what I did maybe 2 weeks ago prevented the Lord from saying June the 11th. He maybe delayed it to the 15th or the 20th for 3 months or 4 months, and etc. But it doesn't mean that the plan changed. It was just that my disobedience delays it. Because once God says yes, he doesn't change. He's not like us. We say, yeah, sure, but then sometimes we change our mind. The Lord's plan is simple. You obey him, he blesses you. And when we don't, we get disciplined and sometimes we get punished. So the next one, this is the conclusion. Like I said, God's plan never changes. No matter what we do, his plan will always come to be. Jonas decided to run away. It didn't work. Ended up in the belly of the fish, but at the end of it, he went and he did what the Lord instructed, so that we can see that God's plan never changed. You cannot change God's plan even if you want to. So the best thing to do is listen to God. It's as simple as that. The next one says, we obey, we receive his blessing. It is not difficult. We make it hard. We make it hard to try to make it as if God is difficult, God is not just, oh, God is stubborn. No. He's just telling us, do as I asked, and you will receive the blessing. But we make it difficult. We want to do it our own way. We want to make it the way that we feel more comfortable, and we want God to be okay with it. The Lord might tell you, okay, I want you to go to Motherwell, but you feel comfortable preaching in Dundee. So you go out there in Dundee and you preach in the session. You come, Lord, I have done what you asked. No. You don't know the reason why the Lord sent you to Motherwell. Maybe it is that person that needed to hear you that day so that they can give their life to Christ. It is not because you went and preached someone else that you've accomplished the plan of God. No. You've decided to do what you want, and yet you want God to feel like it's okay. And that is not right. Follow the plan of God. Obey. Receive the blessing. The next one says, we get disciplined or we get punished. Now, in this occasion, we could say that it was, in Jonah's case, it was discipline. Because we could say, yeah, he was punished because he was thrown in the water for 3 days. Sorry, thrown in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, etc. But that's not really punishment. If you read it properly, the Bible says that they picked him up in the boat and they threw them in the middle of the sea. Okay? You're in the middle of the sea, in the middle of nowhere. How do you survive? And that is the reason why the Lord allowed the fish to swallow up Jonah so that he could survive. That is why I said at the beginning, he disobeyed God. He did what he wanted to do, but yet God had to save him. That was God's way of saving him. The only way to save him was to make sure that he was swallowed up by the fish so that he did not die in the middle of the sea. So when we get disciplined or punished when we do not obey the Lord. And in this case, in Jonah's case, I would say it was discipline, because being swallowed by the fish is not a punishment. It was actually a way the Lord to save him. The discipline was the Lord showing him and saying, I asked you to do something, you disobeyed me, but at the end of it, you're still going to do what I asked you to do, because I am God and you cannot change my plan. So the Lord disciplined him, showed him that you cannot run away from me, you cannot change the plan of the Lord. Now, when it comes to punishment, it just depends on the Lord. The Lord could discipline you, the Lord could punish you, and the Lord could discipline and punish you. It's just the Lord does as He's pleased. So, when it comes to punishment, the Lord could say, because you disobeyed me, therefore this and such will happen to you. It just depends upon how the Lord feels. But no one wants to be punished and disciplined in a way that when you do wrong or disobey the Lord, why not just keep it simple? The plan of the Lord was go and preach against the people of Nineveh. It was as simple as that from the beginning. So we can see from number one that the plan of the Lord was simple and it never changed. Why did Jonas have to go and change it? Because again, we children of the Lord, sometimes when the Lord instructs us to do something, we want to make it our own way and want God to be okay with it. So the message that I have here, or the conclusion is, follow God's plan. It is simple and it's the best way. Like I said, if we believe, we receive the blessing. If we don't, we get disciplined or we get punished. So that was the message that I had for today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and maybe you know someone that is going through a difficult case, or someone that would benefit from hearing this. You can share it to them. I just want to say thank you for everyone that keeps watching my video. May God bless you, and good night.